Welcome to visualizing your business data in Minecraft. Congratulations on making it this far through Dreamforce. Only one day to go. Okay, who's tired? Yeah, I am too. So I'm Pat Patterson. I'm a developer evangelist with the team here at Salesforce. I'm lucky enough to be in the team that put this whole dev zone together. And really, this is a story that started with last year's Dreamforce, and I'll explain as I go through. Now, the safe harbor slide. If you're going to be basing stock or product buying decisions on a presentation about integrating Salesforce with Minecraft, you should probably not be allowed out of the house on your own. All right. So who here has who here has kids of school age? Who here has kids of school age that do not play Minecraft? All right. Has anybody here not even seen Minecraft? All right. So let me just show you a little bit of Minecraft just to set the scene. So let's see if I can get this right. Go to 6, lovely. So this is Minecraft. It was like a real surprise hit. It's basically an indie game produced by a developer, Marcus Persson, in Norway. And yeah, you fly around. You can, well, I'm in creative mode, so I can fly around. You can break these blocks and gather resources. And you can build a house, and in survival mode, you've got to build a house before nightfall when the zombies come. And it's got a great retro feel. You know, I'm really not very good at it. I should have my kids up here helping me. But, you know, the kids love it, and it's kind of unique in that it happens to be very extensible. And I'll explain that as we go through as well. So, as I said, this was a story that began last Dreamforce, and I took the week off after Dreamforce last November. They keep moving it around. And my kids were in school, my wife was in college, the house was tidy, the laundry was done, and I thought, what am I going to do? And somebody had mentioned to me, hey, why don't you try building a world in Minecraft from data in Salesforce? And that's exactly what I did. And where did I put my clicker? It's over here. So why Minecraft? The first great thing about Minecraft is it's super cheap, like $27. And what you're actually getting for $27 is effectively a 3D engine. You know, a way of laying data out in 3 dimensions and having this program plot it for you and allow you to fly around it. It's written in Java, and that quality kind of unintentionally meant that this community of modders, developers building modifications for Minecraft, grew up. Because it was written in Java, it was possible to reverse compile the game, not for the purposes of piracy or theft, but to extend the game and make the game deeper. And so Mojang, the company behind Minecraft, who were recently bought by Microsoft for $2 billion. So I guess this is now a Salesforce-Microsoft integration? I don't know. Mojang, you know, basically were very relaxed about this because it actually added depth and longevity to the game. And what happened was this community of modders actually built a plugin architecture. So there's something called Minecraft Forge that allows you to package up your modifications. It actually gives additional APIs to make modding easier. And you kind of get access to source code. You know, you get access to the reverse compiled source code, and some of it has some comments injected into it by Forge to help you along. And the main reason why to do some work with Minecraft is it's fun. You know, you can sit down with your kids and build stuff. So to get started on this, you need Java JDK 6 or 7. I highly recommend you have an 8 to 15-year-old helper. When I was building this stuff, seriously, I would have like ideas about, okay, I've got this stuff in Salesforce, and my kids would say, oh, you could do this. You know, you could have it, when something bad happens in Salesforce, you could make it rain and have thunder and lightning in Minecraft. And that's, you know, the kids know this game inside out, and so they can, you know, you can be stuck with something and they can say, oh, well, why don't you just do this? Make it an item instead of a block and da-da-da-da. So yeah, highly recommended is an 8 to 15-year-old helper. This is a great way to bond with your kids and, you know, have them learn to code. Obviously, buy, download, install Minecraft. Don't do them out of their $27. And you need Minecraft Forge. And there is, you know, because this is like stuff that a lot of kids get into, there's a huge array of tutorials out there. There's tutorials on YouTube that walk you through the basics. There's tutorials on the Minecraft Forge wiki, and just leading you through, you know, when I was kind of whizzing through the Minecraft environment there, you'll have noticed that there were blocks for grass on the ground and the wood on the trees and the leaves of the trees, where you can create your own custom blocks. And that's what you do in these first modding tutorials is you might create, I don't know, a rust block. And you do something to iron and turn it into rust. I'm just pulling it out of my head. Or you can make, what my kids really love is making their own weapons, making like a wizard's staff or something like that. All right, and it's kind of interesting as you get into Minecraft that it is a little bit of a blast from the past. I mean, who here has been in IT for a while and remembers this idea of client-server? A few? Yeah. So Minecraft is a client-server system. You can run a Minecraft server that can support many clients. So that's great because, you know, your kids can get together in a gaming environment. You can run your own server and control access to it so you know that nobody else can be in, you know, playing with your kids on that server. Or you can like log into servers on the internet. You can rent servers as a service, all of that good stuff. And the server maintains the world state for all players. Okay, so the server knows that there's a wood block there, and so when somebody smacks it, the server knows that there's no wood block there and sends a message to each of the clients to reflect that in the user interface. So all the client's really doing is rendering the world for each player. So when you're building these modifications, there's different ones you can build. You can build server-only mods, and that's really cool because you can run a server doing fun stuff, and then anybody can connect to it with the vanilla game and start to play. So you can like change the behavior of the world without having to distribute changes to all your players. But you can't add new blocks and items because the client doesn't know how to render them. You can do things just on the client. Good example there, you can customize graphics. So X-ray vision is a client mod where you don't really want the server to know about it. But you can modify the client so that you can suddenly see through the ground down to where the gold ore is and go mine it. Or you can have client-server mods where you can go nuts. You can add new blocks, items, graphics, but both sides need the mod. And this is what I did as I was building forcecraft. And there were a few techniques I used. It turns out that, you know, you're really just extending a Java program. So as I went beyond just creating, you know, working with my kids, playing with my kids, you know, putting in dragon staff and knight's sword and things like that, I kind of wanted to go a bit further. And I realized, wow, I could just make HTTP calls. It's just Java. I can take the Apache HTTP client and package this up into the mod that we were building. And I learned quite a lot about this. I'm not going to go into details here, but I learned about things like Gradle, which is a Java build system, and you know, packaging up things like a Java HTTP client so that if somebody else had written a mod that also had an HTTP client, they wouldn't clash. And it's a technique called shadowing. How many Java programmers in the room? Okay, quite a few. So you basically, you can play with the package names in the classes as you build your mod. So that everything's sane in your source code, but as you package it, you replace the package names so that your version of COM Apache HTTP client doesn't clash with somebody else's HTTP client. So I learned a lot in doing this. And work clicker. It occurred to me, as I said earlier on, what if I generated an entire dimension, like an entire world in Minecraft based on account data from Salesforce? So who's read William Gibson's Neuromancer? A few sci-fi geeks, excellent. So this is the idea that Gibson put forth as cyberspace in Neuromancer, the idea that real-world entities would have projections into this, I think he called it a shared hallucination or something like that, this virtual world. And yeah, I came up with something called forcecraft. And there it is. I actually, so the story, a bit more of the backstory of this, I built it just after Dreamforce last time. I blogged about it in January. And in February, Mike Rosenbaum, the VP of Platform, said, yeah, we've got this internal executive conference in Vegas in February. Can we show forcecraft at the end of my section when we talk about APIs? So this is the world I generated there with 400 accounts. And yeah, let's get into some eye candy. All right, so I'm in the standard world. The sun looks like it's about to set, so let's do time set. Let's make it morning again. Okay, so in the regular world, like I said, it's a very, I mean, this is what is appealing about it. It's a very simple 3D system. Each of these blocks is meant to be a meter cube, and you can break blocks, you can place blocks. But what I'm going to do is say /login. So this is, let's see if I can fly it. There we go. Come on. This is forcecraft. So what's going on here is that each of these buildings is an account in Salesforce. Each floor on the building is an opportunity. Okay, so we can immediately see who our most important accounts are, if you judge importance of accounts by number of opportunities, by looking for the tallest building. But let's go fly in here. So we can see this is, okay, who's got a developer edition org? Okay, nice. Okay, you'll recognize Burlington Textiles. And if we, oops. So you kind of right-click the nameplate, and that's actually the chatter feed for Burlington Textiles. You see I've been testing stuff with hashtags there. So this is my, my dev org that I use all the time. So here we have, for the opportunity name and the states that the opportunity can be in. So what's really neat, hang on, is, let's get this just, hang on, want it down there, and this here. Okay. What's really neat is, okay, this never happens in real life, but let's take an opportunity back from closed one to negotiation review and refresh the view in Salesforce 1. Come on. So you can see my most recently touched opportunity is Burlington Textiles weaving plant generator. And if I go in, what I should see, and I should have switched to the presenter network so it was a little bit faster, but what you'll see in a moment is that, still working on your request, when I throw that switch, it's actually making the API call back into Salesforce and updating the opportunity state. Let's just refresh that and then hope for the best. Come on, Salesforce 1. Work for me. Anyway, you'll have to believe me that it'll come up there, and it's all... There we go. So if I scroll down, it's in negotiation review. So I can, just the same, I can edit it here. And there's some pretty nice things go on here. If I change it to, where's the, there it is, negotiation review. If I change it to closed one, okay, I'll just go over here and step back a little bit. And then I'm trying to use a web page like my iPhone. It's not a happy sight. So as soon as that saves, what should happen is that, let's go, ta-da! So the lever flips, one of the contacts from that opportunity appears in front of me, and it's actually dropped $235,000 worth of stuff. So this is a great way to incentivize your salespeople. So I can go pick that up, and I've got like 3 gold and 5 glowstone and 2 emerald. So it's like hours of fun. And even if I go out here, it's turned to night, so it looks pretty cool. I can say, let's go to that account, and I'm going to clone this opportunity and say, so the technology it's using is REST API for the game affecting changes in Salesforce, and then streaming API, the game is listening for notifications from Salesforce that things have changed. So what was I going to do? Oh yeah, clone this opportunity. So call it Weaving Plant Generator 2 and hit save. And this is just pure eye candy. I love this. Come on. All right. So yeah, that's about the I know I can also do things like, okay, Jack, show me your chatter feed. Come on. There we go. Congratulations, opportunity closed. So, and I can also say chatting from DF14. And that actually goes up to Salesforce, and it should do a notification back down, a little bit slow. But that would come up in a second or two saying, hey, chatting from DF14. All right, so there's an important point. Oh, there it is, chatting from DF14. There's an important point here. When I show this to people, they suddenly get the fact that, oh, wow, you guys have APIs. It's a cloud platform holding data. If you can get this data in a near real-time, event-driven way into Minecraft, wow, you know, I bet I could get it into SAP or SharePoint or whatever other integration I'm doing. And you know, that's really the secret purpose of this is really saying, you know, are we on? Oh yeah, is really saying there's some here, but this integration is so unexpected that it makes people think differently and think, oh, I could do this. So let's have a look at the code. Let's have a look at the techniques. And if you're like writing a Java integration, this is literally the code you could use to pull data out of Salesforce and update it dynamically. And there's some interesting techniques along the way. So, okay, how's the font size in the back? We good? Awesome. So this is like the main class for a mod. Forge is actually surprisingly well architected. It's a really nice piece of work. I just use a Java annotation to say, okay, this is the main class for my mod. It's called forcecraft. And you know, there's some boilerplate stuff here. But in the about to start method, what I do is create a new REST client. Okay, this is just a class that's going to manage my interactions via the REST API. And I log in. And I'm logging in using the OAuth API. So if I go there, so all I'm doing, I'm really doing it bare bones here. I'm just doing a bare HTTP post. Okay, do as I say, not as I do. Don't put your client ID and secret in your code. Okay, for this, it doesn't really matter because it's Minecraft. Just never do this. Get it from an environment variable or something. But, you know, joking aside, what I'm doing here is exactly what you would do. You set up this post with these 5 parameters, grant type equals password, username, password, client ID and secret, which identify your application. And then you post that off to Salesforce. And this is just standard, sorry, my brain's not working, standard Apache HTTP client. So we just set this up and say HTTP client execute, and it posts that to Salesforce, and we get JSON in return, this JSON field map, and we basically pull that apart we return that and pull it apart to get a token that we can then use to call the APIs. So kind of hopping back to, so we've got our nice token. We want to get the accounts. Now here's where the interesting techniques come in. What I've got here, let's go to this view. Okay, what I've got here is a select statement that will get all of my accounts. Again, this is a unconstrained query. There's no where clause. Don't do this in production. I've got like 10 accounts in my org. But what the interesting thing here is I'm getting all of my accounts. I'm getting the name, ID, and whether or not the account is deleted. And then for each account, I'm getting all of those opportunities and all of the contacts in one query. This makes it really efficient. This means I can do one REST call and get all the data I need. I don't need to kind of keep going back and forth. Okay, I've got the accounts for each account. Give me the opportunities for each account. Give me the contacts, and do possibly 100 API calls. I'm doing my select and getting everything I want in one single call, which is it's a great feature of SOCL that you can follow those relationships and bundle everything back and essentially get a tree of data. And then what I do is I just return those the root of that tree, and I just keep the structure of that data in my program. I don't bother doing any processing on it. I just hold that as my list of accounts. So I do the same thing for the opportunity stages. And then what I do is, another interesting technique here, I'm kind of assuming that you're running this as an admin. So this is an interesting technique. This is a useful technique for tools. What I'm doing is I'm using the streaming API. And to use the streaming API, we create what's called a push topic record. And the push topic says, basically says, here's a query, and I want to know when the results of that query change. And instead of making the user or the admin go in and create that push topic somehow, I'm testing whether that push topic exists. So I'm just passing in a topic name, and I'm just doing a query. Select ID from push topic where name equals whatever, account channel. I can't remember what I called it. But the main thing here is I'm testing dynamically. Okay, does that push topic exist? And then if it doesn't exist, then I'm going to go and create it. And the way that we create push topics is just to create a record using the standard REST API. You can't really see the detail of it. I'm passing in topic name. Let me show you the topic name query. Basically, I'm creating a record that contains this query. So if I go back and see some of the queries that I'm passing in, so opportunity, so to find out about new opportunities, to build that floor. So it's just a query that says, select ID name account, stage name account ID from opportunity. So how the streaming API works is that anytime there's a creation or an update in opportunity that query would change, I get a message. So this means that the new opportunity is created. I get an opportunity to build that. Oh, too many opportunities there. I can build that extra floor. And so I subscribe to these events. So again, down here somewhere, I can say, okay, when a new opportunity is created, I get a message, and in that message is JSON again, and I just pass that out. So I get all the salient facts about that opportunity. I get its ID, name, what stage it's in, and the account ID it's related to, and now I can take action based on that data. So in my funky game, I build a level onto the building. In your serious business-oriented application, you might make some calls into SAP or make some calls into the payroll system to compensate your rep on starting up a new deal. I don't know. This sales stuff is a mystery to me. So really what that leaves is how does that world get created? So I've gotten the data out of Salesforce. I've got a mechanism for getting changes out of Salesforce. How do all of those beautiful blocks get rendered? Now, it turns out it's a kind of like a backwards thing. When I get the data, I can't say, okay, put a block here, put a block here, put a block here. Because the way Minecraft does it is, as you look around, you get called to say, okay, I want to render this part of the world. So it's essentially you have a callback, and the world is split up into chunks, which are 16 blocks in the X direction, 255 in the Y direction, the entire height of the world, and 16 blocks in the Z direction. So it's like 16 by 16 by like a big column. And as the player moves around, you keep getting called saying, hey, tell me what's in this column, tell me what's in this column, tell me what's in this column. So I took a very, very simple approach and said, each of those buildings basically occupies a column in the game, occupies a chunk, and then this funky code here, but let me see. Let me go back up to here. So I basically get called with the X and Z of where my building is. I figure out which building it is. So a discrete spiral is like a spiral, but it's got square corners. So that's how I lay out my building. So I get a nice town or city, because I just always have them packed into a nice kind of square. Figure out which account we're talking about. And then if n is less than the number of accounts, then I basically figure out how many opportunities on that account. I max it out so it doesn't go off the top of the sky. And then I go through generating a floor for each opportunity, and then the roof, and then into the... I'm not going to get right into this code because it's not extremely exciting and it's a bit messy. But each of those floors, I just generate the same stuff, the same blue and white checkered carpet, but I put the opportunity name on the wall, and I create custom blocks for that those switches can sit on, where each custom block knows about the opportunity ID and the stage. So if we kind of go into there, this is the horrible code. I need to rewrite this. I know what this does, but it's impossible to explain to anyone else. So there's the opportunity name. So we just create this chatter sign. So it's a sign on the wall enabled for chatter. And around here, there should be the levers. Oh no, they're in there somewhere. Oh yeah. So that's the lever there. So I get to set up the lever, and I can kind of figure out what opportunity, what stage it's talking about. So all the code's there on GitHub. Continuing the story of this crazy mod. How many people have been to a Salesforce One World Tour? over the course of the year. Okay, did you see the Minecraft thing running in the APIs in Action booth? So they took it on tour there, and I think a guy from Financial Force ported it from opportunities to projects to show in PSA. So this code is actually quite amenable to munging around with. And you're welcome to take it, change it to reflect what's important to you in Salesforce, and see what you can do. I'd love to hear if anybody takes it, extends it, changes the way the buildings look. This is what open source is about. So reviewing the APIs in play there. There's a name that only its creator could love, the OAuth 2 Resource Owner Password Credentials Grant, that we colloquially call username password. There's our wonderful force.com REST API that has this, this great way of letting you just send queries in URLs, retrieve account objects just with HTTP GETs, very, very easy to use, gets and posts. And this streaming API, which is a little bit more complex, but there's library code, uses this buyer library. But a really great way of getting dynamic data out of the platform. And who's been around the Internet of Things zone? Yeah, isn't that something? So a lot of those integrations, one way of getting changes out of the platform is to make call-outs, okay? We can easily call out from Apex to an endpoint on the web and say, hey, something changed. Trigger happened, I'm in a future method, new opportunity. But you're not always addressable on the web. My laptop, I don't want it to be addressable on the web for force.com to call me. You don't want your little robot to be addressable on the web, so you use the streaming API so that as a client, you can reach out to force.com and say, you tell me when something changes. And how this works under the covers is the library is doing an HTTP call and saying, okay, something changes. Nothing changes in 90 seconds. Server says, nothing happened. Client says, okay, tell me when something changes. Repeats this. When something does change, the server can just return the HTTP call immediately and say, hey, something changed. It's called HTTP long polling, and it's a very useful way for apps that don't want to be addressable on a URL to get changes, to get notifications. There's lots of different ways you can play with Minecraft. One of the most fun is called Minecraft Pi Edition. And it's similar to early versions of Pocket Edition. Whose kids play Minecraft on an iPad or iPhone? All right, so this is essentially the same code. It's an early version, but the really nice thing about it is that there's no modding framework because Mojang included an API from the get-go. So it's a network API, like running over a socket, so there's Python and Java bundled. Community members have written Ruby, Node, and more. And the really neat thing is that you can start messing with the Raspberry Pi pins, the input-output pins, and have real-world events reflected in the game. So you can put like a physical switch on the Raspberry Pi and have something happen in the game. You can have, like when you break a block in the game, send a signal out and light up a flashing light, whatever you like. I actually did a workshop with some kids at San Jose Museum, Tech Museum, and if you want that, get the slides, and it's bit.ly/rpi-mc, and there's a whole workshop there for getting started with the Raspberry Pi, getting a switch working, getting an LED working, and hooking them up into this Minecraft Pi Edition. Tons and tons of fun. So, oh, and there it is. Hardware, yay! So resources, obviously Minecraft.net, Minecraft Forge, that's the place to find out more about that. Those modding tutorials, please grab forcecraft. I can't remember the guy's name. The guy from Financial Force, he acted as the guinea pig, picked up the code, modified it, was able to successfully build his own derivative of it. So I kind of know that works. I'd love to hear file issues if you want changes or bug fixes, and then Minecraft Pi Edition. So with that, This is what happens when you ask your son to render you as a Minecraft skin. See a nice Salesforce One logo on the T-shirt. That's my favorite bit of this, is the Salesforce One logo. But thank you, and yeah, happy to take any questions. Step up to the mic, please. We have about... I have the best job in Salesforce. I get paid to do this. It's criminal. Okay, please ask questions. I've got a burrito card for the first person to ask a question. Don't be shy. No, mic, so that everybody can hear. Or you tell me and I'll repeat it.
Did you consider using the bucket plugin framework for the vanilla Minecraft?
Great question. So, did I consider using the bucket plugin framework? Yes, and have a burrito. Yes, I did consider. So Bucket is another plugin framework as well as Forge. As the question implies, Bucket is a framework for building plugins for the server. So vanilla clients can log in and play. Yeah, I thought about it, but I wanted the client interactions that I wanted to happen and so on. I couldn't figure out how to make it happen in Bucket, and I kind of, as soon as I started looking at Forge, it kind of fell into place. You might be able to get this working in Bucket, but I don't think so. I think there's too much going on. I think the main thing would be the chatter heads-up display would be really hard in Bucket. But great question, yeah.
Hey, I'm really curious about how you actually implemented it with the REST API and making that connection possible. Did you need to create the jar, and then how were you able to make it shadow properly when you were actually doing that piece entirely on the client side?
So there was a lot of echo on that.
Sorry, so the REST API connection.
The REST API, yeah.
And how were you able to actually deal with shadowing when creating the jar for the REST API connection, if you were using partner or enterprise WSDLs, for example?
So,
I guess it's
how was I able
parts.
to make how was I able to make a connection to? So, do you want to step up? So, it's some reason the mic. Actually, it's better not to use the microphone. It's really echoey. Yeah.
How were you able to make the enterprise or partner connection?
Okay. Okay. No. So the question was how did I get the partner enterprise API working? And the short answer is I didn't. I used OAuth login to get a token, which is equivalent to like the session ID that you get in the SOAP APIs. When you do OAuth login, you get access token, instance URL, and a couple of other things. And then I just used the REST APIs. I didn't go near the SOAP at all. To be honest, unless you need the box carring, unless you need to pass back and forth multiple records, the REST API is way, way easier than the SOAP API. So for this particular application, I was able to use a query to get back everything I needed, and then I'm doing record by record updates. If you're pushing back like updates to 10 or 100 or 1,000 records at a time, then SOAP API is great, and the REST API can't do that. But if you're doing something like this, or most mobile apps, the REST API is just super drop-dead simple to use. So yeah, I just stayed away from the SOAP. Okay, yep. Got time for, oh, okay.
So my question is more towards the limits. If you compare
Limits?
because
yeah, you just,
so
you get black tab access and increase the API limit. No, kidding. It's a really good question. It's something you've really got to think about is limits, because API calls are a finite resource, and so I really wasn't worrying too much in this instance. But you would have to start considering in the real world things like trading off the freshness of data against the cost
volume
in API calls.
Right.
Yeah, and for what I was doing, just the out-of-the-box developer edition with the limits that are in place for API calls, the limits that are in place on the streaming APIs worked okay. But the great thing about those limits is, certainly on the streaming API, if you're doing serious work with the streaming API, contact salesforce.com and we'll up the we'll increase those limits on the streaming API. We keep them low because they're kind of quite heavy on the platform.
Yeah,
if
but
everybody's like doing
comparatively,
lots of
they're
it.
quite low. If you compare to SOAP API, I think it's 5,000 API calls per user
But it's
license.
15,000 now.
Yeah.
It's 15,000 per day, which works out about one every 5 seconds, 6 seconds.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, that's part of architecting any application that uses the APIs, is considering that frequency and whether you need to start packaging up your calls so you're calling less frequently, but at the expense of having less fresh data going over the wire. Yeah, I mean, it's the same as architecting any other integration. I was lucky in that this is just a toy.
Yep.
I didn't have to worry too much about it.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. And was there a quick question over here? Yeah. Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely. So let me just log in. And I'm probably going to get hauled off the stage with a shepherd's crook any second. Do you want the game with the oh wow, 3 customers there. How about the game with the Salesforce one at the side? How about that? There you go. Oh, I've got 1 minute 30 left, so take all the pictures you like. Okay. Well, I'll be around the Internet of Things area for the rest of the conference. Feel free to come up and say hi and ask any questions. Oh, there's Jane Gray. Ask any questions, and yeah, thank you very much.